Hi everyone, welcome to Awaken Hidden Truth. Having fun on Earth with us. Hi Scott.
Hi, Perry. I guess we're doing another one of what we're calling radio shows. Of course, they aren't on radio stations transmitting through the air through radio sets. But today, these little radio shows or podcasts or what's they're called on the internet because we have something like Zoom or other Skype and other things that allow people to see each other in real time and hear each other face to face, which is way more advanced than radio ever was. Because nobody could see anybody on radio. You could just hear them. They have radio stations, with big towers, and we still have those today. Those radio stations today transmit through satellites and then are beamed down to computers and headphones and all that. It's not the same as it once was. So when we have fun beyond Earth, we mean simply that on these journeys we leave our physical bodies consciously. We put the bodies in the trance state called sleep that everybody puts it in every night anyway, without knowing any better. And we go and explore the multiverse while the body's alive. And during the time at which it is asleep means nobody's home in that body. The spherical energy that makes up what people on Earth call soul, the Atma, is very real energy. It's not fantasy. It's not made up in like some kind of a fantasy imagination. The spherical nature of our being is the way we actually exist and always have. That is not and has never been a physical body anywhere on any planet, any dimension. The spherical energy we're comprised of that makes us individuals comes from a source multi dimensions above the physical universe. And certain quantum physics fields, certain quantum physicists know these other dimensions exist. They know they're there. They just can't access them. They don't understand how the omnipresent field of energy outside of Earth, all that black area that supports galaxies and planets that they float in it, is really a white golden light to the perceptions of the spherical Atma when it's out of its body looking at it, because it doesn't have the limitations of the limited frequency of physical human eyes to see a light spectrum in a very narrow band. We can't even see into infrared and ultraviolet, gamma and X-rays and all these other levels they call other levels of vibrational energy. It's just one energy on different vibrational levels, doing different things for specific purposes. But it's one power, one energy. The energy of the universe, what we call toroidal energy, is one living energy field. So all the way up through the physical, up through the lower planes of time and space, through the void, known to certain monks, certain people, esoteric groups on Earth, and then up beyond that void into the higher realities where we all come from originally. And since the Atman is made, the Atma, what people call their real being, without knowing the first thing about it, really, most people on Earth haven't got a clue what it looks like or what it is. They think they've got a soul somewhere packed away in their body someplace, and that somehow they mix up the body and its personality with who they are, and that's going to be taken to the higher heavens. No, it isn't. The body and brain made of molecules from Earth stays on Earth. You and your experiences go. Nothing else. Only what we know at the time the body ends, stops to working, is what we take with us when we go. Could be just fear. And fear will create the circumstances of jumping right back in another body, incarnating with no memory, not wanting to face or see anything. Many people have been doing that for tens of thousands, if not millions of years. It's not who they are. It's not who they have ever been. So the spherical nature of our being is what was made in the image of what people call the Creator. Not one of these. These are genetic entities developed over a long period of time by certain scientists to produce a higher DNA pattern that will allow the being that's spherical to run higher faculties of being through that form into the plane where that body is and do very constructive things. And then take those experiences back to the source itself while the body's still alive. See, that's what we should be doing. every day. Earth is not, and its people are not in any way, shape, or form yet fulfilling their purpose for being here. They're abusing the entire planet, eating themselves to death, polluting the environment till it destroys everything, slaughtering things constantly around the block, acting like animals themselves, and patting themselves on the back for being higher beings, while they're living in an earth in circumstances that every single person knows is something very wrong with this place. It is not normal or natural at all. Everybody knows it. They're afraid to admit it, and if they did, their neighbors would look down on them, or they would get ostracized or blacklisted or something. So people that really know have few people to tell it to, because few people will listen. Few people on earth would have the courage to step beyond the fear that drives them, step away from that fear long enough to see and know things again. Okay? So we do these things in these journeys to channel a certain type of energy that's designed to help people be free of subconscious, terrorizing, negative, implanted programs that make them make wrong decisions every single day on this planet because they have them. If you are on a planet and somebody says you have a subconscious mind, you are in trouble because you don't know what's in that subconscious mind that affects your nervous system when it's stimulated. It's subconscious. What we go through is go into the subconscious, bring it to a surface, so that whatever's there affecting our decisions becomes nothing more than a memory. And the burden, the negative nature of it, stops. It's like turning off a bad computer program you don't like. You just hit the key and it's turned off. Because all subconscious energy that affect people to make the wrong decisions affects their nervous system, gets their energy to run from us, from the spherical being that has to run a certain energy beam into the pineal gland, the center of the brain, and out through the nervous system, through the chakras, to run that body just like you turn the key on in a car. And if the being doesn't turn that key on and run energy into it from its own battery, its own source, the body sits there and drools and falls over and dies instantly. Because bodies don't run themselves. It's very important to know that a body does not run itself. No body ever born through a woman ever ran itself. They don't run on automatic. They're not living entities in the sense like the being that runs the body is. They're genetic entities. They're made up of DNA, and they have genetic history, an evolutionary history. Bodies of the type we have on Earth today are billions of years old, not created on Earth, and didn't come out of fish, didn't come out of Cro-Magnon or Neanderthal ever. That's theory that can never and has never been proved, because they will not find the missing bone that links us to monkeys or Cro-Magnon or Neanderthal or anything else, not to fish, to dinosaurs, or any of it, because humans didn't evolve on this planet originally. They were brought here over 65 million years since the dinosaurs were made extinct. I say this, I brought it out to the public. I'm probably the only being on Earth that's ever bringing this out this way, because it's understanding more of the actual history of this planet and the solar system we live in, and our purpose for existing as beings with this people called the Source, Prime Creator, God, Supreme Being. There's a purpose to why there's one energy out there that appears black in Hubble telescope images, more vast than all the galaxies put together, like little teeny circles in this huge black energy, right? Floating there. And it's a white golden field of light that extends up through parallel dimensions, up through major divisions, up through the lower worlds of time and space, through what people call the void, into the higher realities, all the way up to a central nexus where this supreme consciousness is. Way up there. And we all come from that directly. Each and every one of us are like a drop, an individualized drop out of that kind of energy up there. And our home is there, and we're destined to return to that home, whether you like it or not, one way or another. because that is part of the program so that each being can evolve, not a body, but as a being, to be a trustworthy co-creator with the source behind all life. That is our purpose for existing. We cannot do that if we're not willing to be custodians and caretakers of life on Earth, just as an example to it that we're willing to cooperate in the right way. If we're not willing to do that, then people on Earth don't have the consciousness anymore to even try to do it, and they don't. So, when I've mentioned that we are going to require massive help from other worlds and other dimensions to fix this place, I'm not kidding. Because people on Earth are no longer aware enough, leaders, governments, religions, to fix it before they wipe everything out here again. Which means in ancient history that is not known today, the planet has been wiped out a number of times. Not the planet, life on it. And it had to be recolonized, reseeded, under treaty. That goes into galactic history, and intergalactic history, and interdimensional history. There's a history in all those other dimensions too. Now the thing is, each one of us has a body we're running, the spherical being, in each of those planes right now, simultaneously. The astral body people talk about, you have a physical body there that eats and sleeps and kills animals, and they have war, different planes, different parallels there. Some are pure, few of them. Most of them are just like Earth, with a higher matter body, different time rate, higher molecular structure, a little bit more freedom, but beings there also trapped. Because all matter is moved there through feeling. All feeling comes from the body people are running, the next dimension up, the next heaven. But then they've got one on the causal plane. They've got one on the mental plane. They've got one on the etheric plane. And people on Earth have been terrified to not remember any of that while they live out these endless lives here with no memory. Pretty silly to waste a lifetime like that. But some people are subconsciously terrified to leave their body, and yet they do it every night. And they don't bring back awareness of it because they've never been raised on a planet where that's taught, where they're comfortable with it. They're afraid of it, and yet they do it anyway. It's like being a massive hypocrite. You go out of your body every night and then you tell people they only live one life and you go to God. That's fear making that statement. Put in people from outside themselves, from supposed authorities. And all that does is keep them stuck, thinking they're a body on Earth with no memory. Fear is an artificially created emotion. Where did it originate? The next dimension up. You want to just trap people? You don't do it from here, you do it from the next heaven up, down. Our responsibility as beings is to let go of our attachment to putting beings on pedestals, to worshiping them. Because tyrants are the only ones who want to be in that position, believe it or not. You go up high enough to the source itself that is above the void, where it's pure positive, there's no negative or positive energy, there's no negative nature. People don't worship the source behind all life there. No, they're not. They would never do that. Because they go to the source, they know what it is. They respect the source. And they respect the fact that what they are as an individual is identical with that source. So they respect themselves and each other. The only requirement of the source behind all life for all of us is that we discover and respect all life in the multidimensional creation, because that leads to freedom. Every single Atma, individual being's destiny, is to do that one day. No one avoids it, ever. So I want to make that clear. This work, yes, it's about extraterrestrials. Everyone on Earth is an extraterrestrial, because no human form in any race on this planet originated or evolved on this planet originally, ever. Which means people don't even remember that they originally had more lives out there among the stars and other dimensions than they've had here, even if they've had 10,000 lives here. And people are terrified to remember. Something was done to them in the past, in galactic history, that put them on this world with little or no form of memory intact. I know. It was done to me, and I got free of it. And so my responsibility naturally comes to the table while this body's here to be a channel to help people get free of it as well. It's as natural as rain. And an awakened being, this is as natural as the stars. What we are that looks like this spherical white core, bright yellow, gets into orange, gets into red, gets into a little bit of green, then blues, lavender, violet, golden exterior, violet, and then lavender. It's the same way as the spectrum of light breaks down when you pass it through a prism. This is a type of energy that is not nuclear or atomic. It isn't molecules, it's not DNA. These, on the cover of this book, are human beings. She's from another world, he's from another world, he's from another world, and Atma there, who's not human, is from another world. And they're being introduced to the source behind of life that's come down through a dimension. They're hovering on anti-gravitic disks above what was Lemuria during the last polar flip of the planet that destroyed most life on the Earth. This is his ship hovering stationary. They're on anti-gravitic disks. So this being, this master teacher, can introduce them. These beings right now being taught have one of these hovering above their heads right now, same as this on a smaller scale. They do not know that yet. It's right on the cover of this book. This is the Atma, what beings from other worlds call soul. Except they know what it is and what it looks like, and it doesn't look like one of these. These weren't made in the image of the source. This was. There are many types of human and humanoid and non-human bodies that are very advanced, including his, silica-based, and this creature's an organic being, telepathic, photographic memory, vocal cords, dexterous fingers and hands like a human. He's not human. He's a master teacher. He's 3 feet long. He's called a Dren, and he's from her world, a planet called Oceania. And it's located in the third higher parallel dimension of the physical universe, an actual place. Beings that fly craft like this know how to circumnavigate between these different dimensions in the physical universe, 144 of them. So their worlds and their trade isn't just limited to the material time rate of matter we see on Earth. There are levels to it, like there are levels of Earth, like layers of an onion. And that's just in the physical universe alone. So that's why that's on the cover of that book, to help people remember.
And you have a new book. You want to talk about it?
I don't have it to show it because people are buying it. I don't even have a copy myself yet.
Yeah.
I'll probably get it in a few days, but I think it's called Guardians of the Ancient One, and it is the sequel. There are 3 books written. This one, The Emerald Doorway. Book 2 is called Guardians of the Ancient One, and book 3, which will be published in a week or 2, is called Journey to the Center of the Universe. But it's not the center of the physical universe we travel in that book. So all 4 books, including this one, The Sayre's Agenda, will all be published in the next couple of weeks. This one's published. This is a galactic Emerald Star Cruiser from the Galactic Alliance, Galactic Interdimensional Alliance of Free Worlds, which is located near the central core of our galaxy. Not in it, near it. This is in the ice rings of Saturn. Okay, that's book
Scott,
2.
yeah.
I'll show you the front and back cover of book 2.
Yeah.
That's out now. I don't have a copy myself.
Can you show the book of the Emerald Doorway? Can you show the
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, happy to present. That is Caleb and Melina, right? Here people can see their faces 100,000 years ago.
There's Edda's face over there. That's him.
Yeah.
And then there's Master Ramu right here with his crystal staff. It's a
and this guy. Yeah.
And this is a bad guy over there, Sandar. And those are some very terrifying type of spacecraft that you find out about in book 2. And that race is on a parallel dimension on this planet. And if they learn how to come through to here, we'd all be in some serious trouble. So that book's about what's done to prevent that.
Yeah, and these books are the energy books. You should grasp it because I experienced and I've learned a lot and awakened from Scott's books. All the books that helping me a lot.
Thanks, Barry. This book has a special technique section in the back. It's not like any other book on earth. There just isn't any in any life, not even in Tibet. There are techniques for the prologue and all 29 chapters involving the first half of the word human because it sets up a sound frequency, HU, HU, connects through the pineal gland, and then connects to the source. And it starts to awaken people once it crosses their path. It isn't owned or patented or preserved or owned or possessed by any religious organization on this planet. There are certain organizations that put it out, and that's a good thing, but they don't own it because it's the omnipresent universal energy, toroidal energy, energy of the universe. And it's out just outside the atmosphere of Earth. Actually runs through the atmosphere of Earth, but it's all out there. It's a type of energy that electromagnetic fields, when they're turning, can float in it, and it supports them. But it is not nuclear or atomic in nature. That vast energy out in space is not nuclear or atomic at all. There's elements of dust and matter and stuff and gases in it. But the vast energy you see in these pictures is huge compared to the little galaxies that float in it. It's just huge. And it moves up in frequency through many dimensions. It comes from a source. Part of what's happening out in space among more advanced extraterrestrial races right now that never happened before in the history of creation is that they are experiencing a greater wisdom about what to do with planets like Earth. Because in the past they stood back like Star Trek, non-interference and all that. And when they did that, it bit them in the ass throughout hundreds of thousands of years. So they've learned that they have to be responsible for races who are unconscious, who think they have free will but can't even remember who they are, how they got on a planet. You can't leave people like that to make the choices for themselves influenced by subconscious fear because they will annihilate themselves. Period. So if they are suppressed in some way and manipulated in a way they no longer remember, then it becomes the responsibility of greater races to help them remember without forcing their will on anyone. But from the inside out, getting them to have enough courage to step forward. Drop fear long enough to grasp remembering. Because fear must be put aside first, or you can't remember a thing. It's a block. It's in the way. It's an artificially created emotion on the astral plane imparted to you from your own astral body that you're running there. And so it's not just the earth physical body you have, it's other your higher selves on planes below the void that have to also be awakened, enlightened to help each other properly, which they are not doing on Earth for the most part for people. But on other worlds they are. Life outside of Earth is very different from Earth. Human beings on other worlds are very different from Earth people. And yet all the human life on Earth, twin-stranded DNA, originated out there. Which means this nonsense about, I don't know if there's extraterrestrials, I don't know if they could be tyrants, or they could be this or that. Everybody on Earth is an extraterrestrial. Because human bodies that are brought here, that are being born and genetically passed on genes, did not originate here. They'll never find or prove that. They got to go off-world, out among the stars, among races who have recorded history to know the truth. Where the greater God is. Out there. Up there. Not on this one little planet. Give me a break already. People can be so ego-centered and vanity-filled and driven to say that life is here favored and there's nothing out there, is the height of maintaining a fierce suppression on themselves. So they can't remember a thing, they can't have experience about anything. All they've got is belief. And they don't dare have experience because, gee whiz, they can't know what God is. Well, that's not right. People can go directly to that source and experience it for themselves. And they have the ability to do it once fear is first dropped.
Scott, I have a similar question like this from Thai people because we are taught and we are raised to understand that we reincarnate many times, right, with suffering and fears and pain. So we understand that we are taught that once we reach nirvana, so we don't have to be born again. So like we do nothing again. Could you clarify some of this?
Nirvana is not the highest state attainable by any being. It's just a label slapped on one level. And nirvana isn't the goal ultimately at all. It's a step along the way. But there's no such thing as going back home to the high realities above the void, irresponsibly like a spoiled child, to sit naked on a cloud playing a harp and picking flowers all day. Because people in the upper realities, those beings that are free of this nonsense, are very active creatively. They're always busy. They don't sleep, they don't get fatigued, they don't get tired. There are no moons or planets or suns or stars up there. Everything is self-luminous. And the lands that float in this ether up there are held together by beings. It's quite different than down here. The more advanced planets in the Milky Way galaxy have relatively paradisical existences. Because number one, they got rid of money long ago. They don't have governments that lie to people. They don't have militaries and mandatory anything. People volunteer to serve, but their motivation for doing it is because it's good for hundreds of millions of planets that work together in harmony on many dimensional levels within the physical universe. That's how it really is out there. And people on Earth are going to have a great amount to step up to bat to absorb that, to be able to embrace that, to be able to go on field trips, to be able to play among the stars, to have the technology and the free of disease. These things are ancient, they're not new. Earth people need to be able to accept the kindness of beings from elsewhere who are willing to bring that here, but not as long as we keep supporting governments that allow nuclear weapons and radioactive materials to destroy the environment, because there is no good use for them whatsoever. And they don't use those kinds of energies to get around the universe out there. They're outlawed, illegal. You think people on Earth are going to allow people on Earth to go out, play among the stars, and throw up all that crap and all their beliefs and all their petty jealousies and throw it up on those worlds, and then try to stake a U.S. or Soviet or Russian or Chinese flag on these worlds and start fighting over the spoils? Give me a break. We have no future like Star Trek, the way this world is out there, because they are preventing it. We don't have the right, and we will never have the right, to destroy ourselves here and harm life elsewhere that we don't even know would be harmed if we blew this place up. So we're quarantined. The solar system and our planet is quarantined right now. Not by people on Earth, not by our governments. They're kind, very enlightened, very courageous beings. Okay, but they're not going to put up with any foolishness from people on Earth, because space is already occupied by far more advanced races than Earth. We're going to have to learn from them, not the other way around. They know how to save planets, but they won't force it on anyone. We're going to have to give up such things as radioactive materials and have them neutralized and be provided with another more non-polluting source of energy that's unlimited in the universe. The zero-point toroidal energy that's out there cannot be owned or possessed by any government or any religion. It is universal spirit. I hate to use that word because it's been so terribly abused on Earth, but it is a living, omnipresent force. Omnipresent meaning everywhere. And it's up through all the dimensions. And we move as beings in and out of bodies on that river of this one energy. We're made out of the same thing. If we want to play among the stars, we're going to have to learn how to play not only among the stars in craft, but out of body. Because the more advanced races can come here out of their body and meet with us while their body's in a trance state called sleep on a ship while their fellows run the ship. This is the way they do things. They don't just leap somewhere. They come and visit in a pure form that cannot be affected by negative instruments or technologies or weapons. And they look it over and then they bring their craft. They aren't stupid. It's very important that people on Earth want to recover who they are. The desire's there. They are going to have to let go of their addiction to fear of the present and the future. It is required. It's mandatory. There is no playing among the stars without doing that first for people on Earth. There are ships stationed in our solar system now that are so far more advanced than what we have on Earth. There isn't going to be us playing among the stars the way we are. This world is being put through some shocks, I should say, not meant to be destructive, but to trying to shock people awake enough, including governments, to ask openly for the help of these beings, because they'll come here and land. Diseases will be gone. Overpopulation and unconscious marriages, no, that'll be a thing of the past. Because people aren't doing these things consciously. They're just reacting to environments and hormones. They're not really aware of what it is they are. They think they're a body. Especially when they're young. They're not. They never will be. And they can't keep it. There are beings I know that I work with that are several thousand years old and look to be about 40. Humans from other planets. I'm not joking around about this. People want to have that kind of life on this planet. This planet's going to have to get together in a benevolent government system one day. Tell people the truth, and the wisest people will run the governments, the most trustworthy. This is inevitable. Either that or the world gets annihilated again. Everybody dies, and they don't die. They just lose their bodies. They still have to get it right somewhere else. So we should go on a journey. But I wanted to ask you first, Perry, if you have some questions or anything you'd like to discuss before we do that.
No, I just want everybody to read your books and to go on the journey, and then you will get amazing experiences.
I suppose if I charged for money for the private sessions I conduct that are not on the internet and never will be, this is separate from this radio show because this is designed for the public. And we do go out of body and we do go out there like we do in the private journeys. But the private journeys are more personal, involve more personal commitment from the beings going on them to recover who they are. There's only 10 or 12 people on this planet right now that I work with that way. There's no money involved at all. I
And I
self-booked
want,
because if I didn't, no one could ever get them anywhere on Earth. The techniques in the Series Agenda are crucial, important. The information in that book provides the grounding of wisdom and understanding of how it really works outside of Earth and how it really works for themselves as an Atma. So they can take the next step, because without that grounded understanding that they aren't taught on this planet growing up, they cannot go further. It's impossible.
yes, and I want to mention, Scott, when the master beings in the Emerald Doorway book and Terrarian from the series Agenda book, when we go on the journey, they are there with us all the time,
Yeah, because they're very
just to
live,
let you
very real
know.
beings. They're just not stuck in any illusion of being a body like people on Earth are. So we go beyond Earth out in space. Why do we go out in space outside the atmosphere of the planet? We do it because the atmosphere of Earth contains within it, still in it, every evil, nasty thing that's ever been done to everybody by everyone since the history of this world began. It's still kept within the atmosphere of this planet. It's not allowed to go out in space. In fact, that kind of energy cannot be recorded in the hue, in the 0 point energy of space, the energy of the universe, because it's not nuclear atomic. You can't put that there. So when you get outside of the atmosphere of the Earth, you're in this universal field. That's why some astronauts experience like a God consciousness or this realization of something incredible just by being in a tin can out in orbit in a spacesuit, because they're outside the atmosphere of Earth. The Earth's atmosphere is full of every deed ever done. And it's in microwaves, microvoltages, bouncing off the ionosphere like a radio wave can to get around the curvature of the Earth. It's all bouncing around, and people are subject to it. They get affected by it in different ways under the right conditions. Some people just go postal and start killing things. It's not even them. It's from some act from some other history. They've picked up on it and are enacting it out. Drugs, alcohol sometimes does this and opens them to such things. But once you get outside the atmosphere of Earth, all that stops. It's not there. So we want to travel from that point with beings who can do it into other worlds, other dimensions, and up across the void into the higher realities as well. And we do that. People on Earth are capable of this, but most people are terrified of it. Or the religion says, no, you can't do that. No, you got to go to heaven. You only have one life, and that's it, and then you go to heaven. There's no proof of that anywhere on this planet that's ever happened. That anybody's ever gone somewhere and come back and told people about it. That's permanent like that. There are heavens in the lower dimensions that are parallel to world religions, but they are not permanent places of residence. And you can't stay there. Our goal as beings, and our purpose for existing, means we must go beyond the void back to the source we came from, sooner or later, one way or another. Every single being will do this, because they're destined to be co-creators with the source itself. That is our great destiny, as what people call soul, without even knowing what it looks like, or where it is. It's really them running a body. That's one of the first steps in enlightenment, is to understand that you are a being, a spherical energy being running a body. And you always were, and you always will be. That energy is made of energy above time and space, which means its age cannot be compared in the terms of billions of years of time and space. So how old or how ageless are beings without them being aware of it anymore? It's a very important point. Did we get everything answered? Or so there are Nirvikalpa Samadhi. There are all kinds of terms to other higher enlightenments which are relative to other dimensions. And as you move through these planes, you become part of Nirvikalpa Samadhi. You become part of self-realization, which is nothing more than knowing what you are that's really who you are, spherical, and its structure. And then there's the God realization part of it, which has to do with you traveling to the source, above the Atma plane, above the void, way up, returning home. And that means you become aware that your purpose for existing is to be a trustworthy co-creator with the source behind all life itself. That's our destiny. That's why we exist. So the mystery is answered, and it's true. It's up to every individual to awaken this and recover it in themselves. I can't wave a magic wand and make them do it. That's only tyrants do that, and then they don't give you what you think they're going to give you. Okay. We send out the hue because other beings outside of Earth's atmosphere do this with me when I do it. The hue is the first half of the word human. Languages on Earth did not originate here. Human didn't originate here. English didn't originate here. None of it. Because these kinds of things were brought to this world in one time or another from elsewhere. Languages change over time with cultures on Earth, but they didn't originate here. Human beings didn't originate here, so how could a language originate here? I send out the hue because it opens a kind of a door in the pineal gland in the center of the human brain. This allows the being that you are running the body to be more aware of the fact that it's outside the body running it and can view it from above it near the ceiling. People do this when they go to bed every night. They leave their body and go places and come back, and they have no idea that's what they're doing. I send it out, I actually send it to different dimensions, all the way up through the planes, so that beings I work with and who work with me co-creatively can be of assistance to beings who go on these journeys with us. In other words, you're introduced to them, and vice versa. Imagine someone you love and respect, you're grateful they are in your life, a person, place, or thing, but make sure that it's genuine. Meaning, when you first imagine it, you smile inside it, you feel warm, it's a happy thought, a happy image, a waterfall, a hummingbird, a baby's smile, a pet that you love, the moon, the sun, the stars, the planet, a beautiful green field, a river, an ocean, whatever it might be. The sound of a symphony playing in the sky above your head. The single note of a flute playing a hauntingly beautiful melody, which comes off what we call the Atma plane, the first plane of the higher realities above the void, known to certain esoteric groups on Earth. Above it, beyond it. When I send out the hue, others in space waiting for us to meet us there, and we'll explore that when we get there, do it with me. So we have the great advantage of their masterful nature, their high evolution, their kindness, and the fact that they do not have subconscious minds at all. It's outlawed. Outside of Earth in the universe, no one's allowed to have a subconscious mind because that's where tyrants can place things in it to control you without your awareness. So it's artificially created as well. Be aware of this. If you want freedom in this lifetime, you need to understand this. I'll begin those tones now. But first, imagine that you are hovering near the ceiling where you live. You are a spherical being, maybe a couple feet across. White core, and there's a layer of teardrop-shaped, self-effulgent, self-luminous lights that make up a kind of a bright yellow gold, then a little bit of an orange, then a little bit of a red, a little bit of a green, a little bit of a blue, a little bit of a violet, a little bit of lavender, violet, and gold energy around it. And you're floating there, looking down on your body. Hopefully you've closed your eyes so that you shut off all light input from the physical reality where your body lives on Earth. And that turns off that part of the brain and opens a door. When I begin the hue, that door will open, and your body will go into the trance state you put it in every night. It's a trance state we call sleep. Doesn't mean you won't hear a truck go by or a dog bark, because the ears will remain alert. But you will go through the creative imagination, which is not made up in the brain at all. The brain has no motion picture camera and a motion picture screen to project images on. The gray matter in the brain does not do that. We have that all wrong on Earth. If they had that right, people would be normal, let's put it that way. The imagination, or what you call daydreaming on Earth, is simply the higher faculty or ability of the Atma to look into the one field of energy of which it's also made and know things, connect to points that have nothing to do with the limits of time and space or causation or matter, space and time. It is the energy that is not matter, space, and time that supports such things. It is behind it, before it, above it, beyond it. All that you're doing is imagining what it's like to look down on your own body, peaceful, safe, breathing deeply, asleep. You do it every night anyway, so none of you can tell me you're not masterful enough to do this, because you do it every night. Problem is you don't have any awareness of what it is you're doing, so no benefit comes about from it, other than rest for the body. You You. You. Since you're already near the ceiling, you can imagine looking at your body. It's just daydreaming. Everybody on Earth daydreams effortlessly without realizing it often that they're doing it. They just imagine being somewhere else other than in a schoolroom. Maybe they're in the mountains. Maybe they're by a ski resort. Maybe they're by a waterfall. Maybe they're in another dimension, on another planet, or another galaxy. And it's not fantasy. You can't imagine or fantasize anything in your brain like people are taught on Earth. This is not true. What you're really doing is looking at something that exists somewhere else other than where your body is. It's effortless. Imagine being above the planet in outer space. You're spherical energy. You're not molecular. You're not DNA. You don't feel heat or cold. You don't feel radiation from the sun. And you are joined by others, Perry and myself. Ambassador Turellian of the Say-Rays human race is here, and many others in a circle around him. He's in the center of a circle of beings. And you can look down and see in the distance the polar ice caps of Earth, the oceans, the land, the barren moon, the meteor craters. It's moving around the Earth. It does not turn on its axis at all, which is completely abnormal. The gravitational field of the Earth and the Sun and the other planets and the stars should have it at least moving some, but it doesn't move at all. Most unnatural. That will change in the near future as well, because it must. And here in space, when you look around you, as the spherical being you are, you can see billions of stars that make up the Milky Way galaxy that planet Earth revolves around our sun in. And you can see big blue, white, hot giant stars, and many of them. And you can see yellow suns like ours are bigger, and giant red suns and what are called red dwarfs. And you can see this white field of golden white light underneath, behind it, and you can see them all clearly. You can see this energy is under our feet. It's around us. It's through us. It's around the atmosphere of the planet. It's out in space. It extends all the way to our neighbor, the Andromeda Galaxy. You can see it right from being in space above Earth with Turellian. You can see the Andromeda Galaxy. You can see millions of others. And you realize that that black energy that you see in Hubble Space Telescope images, because human eyes cannot detect it high enough, see it as black, but it's a white, golden, omnipresent, living energy, non-nuclear, non-atomic, and you're floating in it right now. There is no negative past stored experiences like they are in the atmosphere of Earth, from things people have done to each other, to animals, to trees, to plants, the sun, the moon, whatever they've done, underground, underwater, under the oceans. It's all contained within the planet itself. It does not go outside of that atmosphere. Call it a safeguard of the universal energy beyond Earth. And Turellian, who's standing 18 feet tall, Their Sayre's human race are 18 to 25 feet tall. We get our genomes for our twin-stranded DNA for the bodies we run on Earth from them originally. They evolved out in the galaxies billions of years ago, and he's showing you an 18-foot tall body made of pure energy that looks perfectly normal, about 36, 18 feet tall, like a Greek god, simple gown, bare feet. He's got long, slightly curvy blonde hair, big crystal clear blue eyes, slightly pointed ears like an elf, ivory colored skin, slightly tanned. And he's holding his two thumbs up with a golden sphere of light, white golden light around each. And what he's done is brought energy here from the upper realities above the void and expanded in a sphere around us as a form of safety, so that nothing of any negative nature, no technology, no weapon, no spaceship, no ray gun, no out-of-body demons, no beings of any kind can even come anywhere near this field of energy, because it is master over such things. And he's standing there showing you a form he had over 1 billion years ago, his whole race. They immortalized their physical bodies in a very unique way. Back then, they'd evolved to the point where they dematerialized their bodies of will from the white core of the Atma they are, and stored it in one of the teardrop layers in the first layer, the yellow golden light around the white core. And so where he is now showing you this, he's manifested it, stand there in space, from the omnipresent living single core toroidal or 0-point energy of the universe. And he simply used the energy of that and mocked up the body around the DNA, yet it's a pure energy body. And then you realize that there's a sphere, a beautiful, precisely shaped sphere of light hovering above Terrellian's body. That's who he really is. And then you look across the circle and you see dozens of us in a circle around him. You can see me standing beside him, Perry standing in the circle, among other beings in a circle. And we have this same Atma we are hovering above the bodies, and yet we're showing Terrellian and all of us a perfectly healthy, energy human body, about 36, flawless in every way, trim, beautiful, handsome, perfect. And above it, the us, the Atma, the spherical being hovering above it. We are simply showing each other a form of identity so that we can recognize each other. This is telepathic. This is the true way of communication between beings. There are other beings present here who I'll introduce some of you to for the first time. Others already know them. One is called Master Ramu, and he is about 6 feet tall, standing off to the left of Terrellian. He's holding a crystal staff made of quartz. It's glowing with a gold light. Has a ankh, a vertical oval with a hole in it and a cross, which is a sign for eternal life. It is a device. It's his trademark. He carries it wherever he goes, and sometimes it's utilized as a device. He's got short cropped black curly beard and hair, swarthy skin, dark brown. Looks like he's from Tibet. He's in a maroon robe with sandals, coal black eyes. And above him, the Atma hovering, bright and brilliant. And off to the right, Master Opelum. He's from a planet called Oceana, and that is in the third higher parallel dimension of the physical universe. It's on the other side of the Milky Way galaxy. It's mostly water covered. It's 4 times bigger than Earth, and you can see it as I'm describing it to you. It's covered in oceans, a few small islands near the equator that have huge dome cities on them, covering 3 white alabaster, gold crowned and quartz capped pyramids, and they're set in jungle clearings. There are transport tubes, which are antigravitic transport tubes, to move beings from the city down tubes to the bottom of the Oceana oceans, where they connect to even larger cities under the ocean of their world. And Master Opellum standing there to the right of Turellian, his pale blue skin like moonstone, jet black hair to his shoulders, and emerald green, crystal clear eyes, slightly pointed ears, a single piece gown slip-on uniform, and he's holding up his right hand, and there's little webs between his fingers. He lifts his neck, and you see 3 little slits under his neck. Otherwise, you wouldn't notice them. This is a human race, the most advanced crystalline-based science in our galaxy. A very old race, not as old as the Say rays, but the Say rays were their mentors. Master Opellum is telepathic, has vocal cords just like we do, but he's consciously aware of it. So is Turellian, so is Ramu, and so are some of us. And he's simply showing you that they breathe underwater or on land. They evolved this way. They're extremely kind, very wise, very advanced. And so he's here voluntarily to serve as an example of what we can be and what we're capable of. This is how they work. When you look at the planet Earth, you can see the polar ice caps. You can see the Arctic Circle and Antarctica, the different continents. From out here, you don't see individual cities or roadways or boats or planes. You can see the planet slowly turning on its axis, moving in an orbit around the sun with the moon circling it. And it doesn't turn on its axis, and then suddenly something happens. And you can see the Earth has no polar ice caps, and the moon has an oxygen atmosphere, and dome cities on it, and lakes and rivers and little oceans. It's turning on its axis, like it should, as it orbits the planet Earth. There's the sun in the distance. This is in the 3rd higher parallel dimension of the physical universe. And this is an Earth that has a Lemurian continent on it, called that, and Atla or Atlantis on the other side, which is a colony continent. And this is a planet Earth whose poles never flip, destroying these outposts. And they are outposts from extraterrestrial races and master teachers who are preparing that place to be utilized as a template, to be superimposed over the Earth and the Moon to change its destiny to a constructive one when the time is right. That planet Earth is in the same 3rd higher parallel dimension where planet Oceania is on the other side of the galaxy. The advanced extraterrestrial races know how to move between these parallel dimensions. In other journeys, we've gone down to that planet and looked at this emerald green beach near the middle of the equator, down near the South Pole, about a third of the way above it. There's an emerald green, half-moon base-shaped beach with a jungle behind it. And inland to the right is a single snow-covered mountain in a tropical arena. There are no polar ice caps on this planet Earth. And a big dome city is down the lower basin to the left, with 3 pyramids in it off to the left third, a semicircular mountain range with waterfalls cascading down it. It's put there for the aesthetic pleasure of the inhabitants. So it's a miniature mountain range, emerald blue-green lake in the middle, little ivory domes. And this is inhabited not just by Say rays, but by Galactic Alliance personnel and master teachers. It is a protected planet. There are no pollutants in the atmosphere, either emotionally or mentally. When we go down to the surface of that planet, which we're doing now, you suddenly look down at your feet. Remember, your body's being projected from the Atma you are, and you look down and see your toes wiggling in vibrant, glowing, emerald green sand, radiating a foot above the sand. You reach down and pick up these crystals. You're in a tropical paradise. And you realize that each crystal is luminous, and it's a round, polished, pure emerald. And that green energy moves through your hands, up through your head smiling. You look up, goes into the white core of who you really are and out into a green layer, turning on some of those higher faculties of teardrops, which are higher faculties of being. This green energy here is to help you remember your lives in the lower dimensions of time and space, not just this little thing on Earth you're living now. When you look behind you in the ocean water in this curved bay, you see Turelian standing up to his knees in the ocean. It's placid. It's an emerald green, luminous ocean water. It's very, very charged. And you can see inland that at the back of the curve of this beach is a brown moss-covered path going back several miles. And it winds its way up the plateau to blue-green forest and up into that dome city situated at the lower plateau to the left side of this single snow-covered mountain. 2/3 of the way up towards the summit of the mountain is an oval opening, and water is pouring, cascading down in a luminous blue-green waterfall because there's a mineral in it that is luminous. It's dropping down thousands of feet down a sheer cliff face and disappearing in the blue-green forest that surrounds the backside of the dome city. And it winds its way through the jungle and empties into the ocean. Suddenly you are out in space again, around Turelian, looking down on that planet Earth, see the emerald green beach, a single continent over the left to right hemisphere, goes up near the top, about 1/3 of the way from the North Pole, down to the east, down to the bottom, 1/3 of the way above the south. It's a big landmass, centered over the equator. And another one 2/3 its size. You can see right through the planet. And there's that emerald beach we were just at, with the moon that's alive with oxygen and life, orbiting, circling, orbiting Earth, turning on its axis. And you look at Turelian. He's still got his 2 thumbs up. And you look at this energy emanating from his thumbs, and it creates a field of white golden light, a little brighter than the space around us. And it extends out into a massive sphere of light in space. There are hundreds of master teachers with us, men and women about 36-ish, different clothes, elegant, all healthy and vibrant, from different races in the Galactic Alliance and from other dimensions, who have manifested the form they have on a body, in a body somewhere on some plane, on some planet. These are all master teachers. They all have different kinds of hair, skin colors, snake-like skin with snake-like eyes, not scaly. Pashat, which is a lion-type being with big hair, about 9 feet tall, very muscular, very fast nervous system. Very kind, spacefaring race, not human, but bipedal. And many other human and humanoid races. And they circle in a small sphere of light around all of us. Above them is the spherical Atma that's hovering above the body form they're showing us. They are introducing themselves to you because they are master teachers. They teach in a place called the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. And it is built between the 5th plane above the void known to certain esoteric groups on Earth and the 6th reality. There are many other higher levels that go up to what we call the ocean of sound and light, prime creator, source, center. There's several higher planes beyond it. The energy that's surrounding us comes from there through Ambassador Turelian's closed fists with his thumbs up. Just a technique. The sound coming from the energy under our feet out in space here is like roaring thunder, but it's gentle. You can hear it like thunder, but it doesn't boom and explode. It is the omnipresent sound of the physical universe, and it runs through 144 parallel dimensions before it even gets to what's called the astral plane. And then the sound changes to that of the crashing ocean on a beach. That's where all the motion comes from. And you all have a body residing there that you are running, whether you've forgotten it or not. When you look out in space, and Turelian points one hand out there, it's like you have a telephoto lens and you zoom forward and you suddenly realize All of us are circling around Turelian above the planet Saturn in our solar system. You know, the one with all the rings around it? They're mostly made of big chunks of ice, frozen water. And it's about 1.5 miles thick, and down inside it is this long cylindrical ship with an anti-gravitic light around the hull, which shields it from the ice chunks that make up the ice rings, and it's floating there stationary. It's 1 mile long, cylindrical with a slightly flattened top. And around the equator, the circumference of this ship are horizontal, 6 foot wide, 3 foot high, convexly shaped, facing outward, little curved observation windows all along the entire circumference of the hull, except for the front where there's a curved bridge window. There's another identical one on the back of the ship. And there are a dozen different saucer-shaped, disc-shaped, luminous craft about 30 feet across with 3 semi-spheric pods in the bottom with their own anti-gravitic field around them, moving in a line towards the central section of this mile-long craft. That is called an Emerald Star Cruiser. It's one of the smaller ones. It's 1 mile. They don't enter through launch bays in these craft. They raise the molecular time rate of the electromagnetic field around the craft, and then they can pass right through the metal hull. Then they lower the vibration rate and land in a hangar bay. And you're seeing them one after the other do this. Near the front of the mile-long cylindrical ship that's headed towards the planet's equator, you can see to the right side, about a third of the way on the right side, one observation window. And we're going to suddenly find ourselves moving through the hull of the craft with Turelian leading the way, until you suddenly realize when you look down, you are wiggling your toes in plush blue carpet. It's vibrant. You can feel the vibration. It's luminous. And there are little glass-top blue oval tables and egg-shaped white chairs with blue cushions. And there are 300 of the ship's personnel standing around, different humanoid races, different hair, longer ears, bald, gold eyes, yellow eyes, silver hair, green eyes, violet eyes, people from all over. And you're standing there with them standing between you, greeting you telepathically, welcoming you, and Turelian is standing behind us, 18 feet tall, because this observation chamber is hundreds of feet long, goes up 60 feet. It's a big ship. It's permanently stationed for now in our solar system for 2 reasons. To protect Earth people from destroying themselves using nuclear weapons, and to police this system to keep tyrant races, the few that are out there, from ever returning. Because over 20-some years ago now, the few that were on Earth, and little grays abducting people and some reptilians in small number, have all been sent away, and not by people on Earth, not by governments on Earth. Or we'd probably be dead now. So, we're not alone in the universe, and there is purpose to all this madness. And it's beginning to unravel in what's called full disclosure. It began with Project Blue Book, and many other things are taking place through the History Channel. They did for several years, all authorized by the Pentagon, and shut down by the same until another time. This is done to bring about a gradual change in energy on Earth so that people can, as nervous as they'll be, choose to accept the greeting beings from other worlds to come here and help fix this place, because without their help, Earth will not survive. It's a good thing we're not alone. So they're showing you this. And you're inside a ship. Galactic Alliance Registry. It's not a federation. Not near the core of this galaxy. It is not. It's an alliance of world systems, over 450 million spacefaring races. That is what the people of Earth have to look forward to confronting And they must one day. Because the greater God they pray to is all out there in the grand multidimensional creation beyond just Earth. And one of the requirements of beings to be free and trustworthy is to respect all life in the multiverse, and they must come to know it. Earth people are capable of doing this, even if they're terrified of it right now. The beings that we're meeting out here know exactly how to bring this about in a safe way. They're not going to force it on people. They're not tyrants. They do not want to run the governments of planet Earth, but they will not tolerate nuclear war. Period. So the commander and his wife get up from two egg-shaped blue cushion chairs by an oval blue glass top table, and they're standing there about 6 feet tall. And they're Caucasian looking, bigger slightly eyes than more clear than people on Earth, long hair to their shoulders, elegantly dressed, and they have a symbol on their chest area, which is a golden pyramid, white alabaster, golden crowned and quartz capped pyramid, hovering above the silver nucleus of a galaxy, Milky Way in this case, and above it 3 stars set in triangular formation. So they greet you, and you can hear them speak with you if you wish to. Allow yourselves to imagine what they say. In other words, imagine, because that is your telepathic way of speaking with them. Several of these personnel, men and women who are trained, can help people be free of what's called subconscious implant terrorizing programs. And you'll see that there's a field of energy. When you look up, around, and out of the sphere you are hovering above the body, it's perfectly flawless, about 36 here. They see it. And you can see there's a field of energy around the outer part of your sphere. And it has these distorted little dark images in it through which you see the universe, but unconsciously, subconsciously. And those are artificially created terrorizing programs of death and torture that are artificial, meaning you didn't experience them, to keep you from moving, to keep you from being aware of life beyond Earth while you live out a lifetime on the planet. And they can remove those and put something golden energy in its place that will benefit you. But you have to request it. They will not force it upon any of you. So you have to show a little courage and trust in yourself and in the source behind all life. That you have a destiny to co-create with that source at some point. The man and woman next to each one of you, any of those who hear this recording later on Perry's YouTube channel and go on the journey for the first time, will actually go on the journey. But this is up to each individual to experience directly for themselves. You do not need to take my word for anything. Go on the journey. Recover, remember, awaken, recall. Then we find ourselves in space, high above the planet Saturn, looking down on the rings, and there's the spaceship there. We were just inside it. But when you look up, you see in space a single cobalt blue star, brilliant, radiating like a little sun in the fabric of space, and then it spirals open into millions of little blue stars, circling clockwise until it opens into a vortex tunnel like an hourglass, moving in blue-green energy that looks like water, but it's lit up. And Trillian and all of us move up through that opening in an instant, and you're suddenly looking down on it, and then it vanishes. And below your feet, you now see 6 snow-covered mountain peaks surrounding a circular landmass that has a white island in the center and a blue-green luminous lake around it. And there is a sphere hovering above a pedestal about 4 feet high with curved edges that's a blue stone like lapis lazuli with gold lace through it, and a 4-foot in diameter crystal sphere with a little cobalt blue star in the center of it. There's a shaft of white golden light running up from way up high, down into the star, down the pedestal, and out the bottom. When you look out into the horizon from where you're hovering above these mountains, you can see a huge floating landmass, and around it a white luminous sandy beach encircling it. The atmosphere around this floating landmass is a cobalt blue light, like the most beautiful blue sunny sky day you've ever seen. And behind that blue energy is a white golden energy you can just make out supporting it. There are no planets, no moons, no suns, no stars here. There is no time and space here. It's pure positive energy. It is non-nuclear, non-atomic, the energy which supports the lower dimensions of time and space, like the one where Earth resides. To the west of one of the 6 mountains, consider this huge floating landmass north, south, east, and west. And to the west is a tall blue glass-like administration tower that extends from a smooth base, from a white marble floor, white like marble floor, up to many stories high to a flattened spherical area, kind of an oval, up to a minaret point. And there's a shaft of white golden light coming down into it. And it goes into this flattened spherical area into a fountain. Suddenly we are inside that fountain with Turelian. And there are 3 tiers, successively wider, of marble. And there are many hundreds of beings who came with us on this journey, men and women, the Atmas hovering above them, surrounding this fountain. And we are standing around the fountain on a white marble floor. It's a white alabaster scalloped-edged fountain about 15 feet across. And there is a white golden light coming down into it. And it's pouring over the edge in an even glistening white golden sheet, dropping through the floor, continuing through the shaft of the tower, and down through this landmass, down into the lower worlds, down into what we call Satnam's plane, the first Atma plane above the void, which is another reality just below here. And there's another fountain in a garden there that this connects to. And we'll go there on our return. This fountain is emitting rays of energy that are penetrating not only your physical pure energy bodies you're showing each other here, but the white core of your being. It's like drinking a liquid light. And this light has to do with you remembering what you were made to forget long ago about your life and your original existence in the upper realities, beyond the lower worlds of time and space and matter. This energy supports those things. It is behind those things. It is 0 point. It's toroidal. It's the energy of the universe. It's a living, omnipresent energy. And we, as spherical beings, are comprised of this very same energy. When you look up outside of this tower now, we're high above it, you can see there are 4 quadrants. It's like dividing a pie plate into 4 sections. Kind of a triangular curved edge section to northwest, northeast, southeast, southwest. And about this, there's little white roadways you can see extend from the white marble floor at the base of the blue glass administration tower. And they go out to the west coast. Another one curves off at another angle straight out to the coast. And they extend in every direction like the spokes of a bicycle tire. And they go into the mountains through curved, perfect tunnels, into the hollowed out interior with a shaft of white golden light roaring up and down in it, and out tunnels to the other side, and out roadways to the other coasts. Now, if you look to the west, there is a turn to the right down this white roadway and one to the left. On the left, there's a silo-type ivory-colored tower, looks like a grain silo, and a botanical garden around it. And to the right is a massive pyramid, white alabaster, golden-sided, crowned, and capped, quartz capped. And there are curved oval doors, blue glass, in the side of it. It's bigger than the one in Egypt. And inside it, you're going to find we're suddenly inside a vast pyramid, bigger than a football stadium. And in the middle of it is a silver tree with roots going down into the floor and disappearing. And there's energy running up and down the trees, the needles, and the trunk of this tree that goes all the way up to the point of this pyramid and upward. And it is a brighter white golden light than we see out in the atmosphere supporting the blue cobalt sky of the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. And we're going to go right inside, right through the silver needles. Each one represents a precise location in the lower planes of time and space. And there is an ancient Chinese master who caretakes this facility and is the master teacher for it. I will not mention his name, not publicly. So anyway, you're going to see that he welcomes us, points his hand, and we find ourselves suddenly inside the center of this shaft of light, the trunk of the tree, with silver needles and silver branches, silver light. And we appear like all of us around Turelian, like the size of a dime to a dinner plate. And this golden white light is roaring through us, up and down, through the Atmas we are, through the white core, through the body forms standing there, not harming us in any way. And then you see this energy pass through you, and you look downward, and you see that one of the needles of this tree, for all of you, connects directly to us hovering in space, outside of planet Earth, through Turelian, through the core of our beings, and through the body forms we have showing each other there. Ramu and Opelum, and Etta and Din, who are Drens, you'll find out about them, and other master teachers are here. And it's passing through us, and then it's passing down through your body, hovering above, near your ceiling, above your body on Earth. Imagine a body 5 planes up from here, right from space around Turelian, outside Earth. And it's crystalline-like, in other words, transparent and luminous. And it looks human, standing by a huge palace on a 80,000 island continents on a massive world. And you can see that body is looking up to the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, across the void. And it's looking down to the mental body you have there, and it's on a violet sandy beach near a violet ocean on a massive world, and the body forms you have there are human, tall, 10 feet tall, long necks, long fingers, violet eyes, silver hair like metal, elegant like swans when they move, and they're sitting or lying down or standing with eyes closed, the Atmas hovering above them. This is your mental body. And the causal body is it's human, but it's on an island. And it's looking up and perceiving the mental and etheric forms and looking down to see you out in a tropical paradise on an island, many thousands of them, very evolved culture, and you have a life there. You look to be about 36, male or female. And it's looking up and looking down and seeing you down on Earth, sitting in a chair. And the Atma that you are hovering above that form is looking up and seeing all the other body forms you're running. And looking down, you see the pineal gland, the center of your brain, and this white golden light passes down into it. It goes out in the field, a toroidal field, like a gravitational field around a planet, around you hovering near the ceiling, and then in your aura through another toroidal field surrounding your body. And then it moves out through the walls of the house. And it goes into 3 pyramids stationed on Earth. 2 at the bottom of Earth's deepest oceans, 1 inside a hollowed out interior of a mountain in the Himalayas. And they are turned on, and they have fountains in them, and they're running. The energy passes through them and goes out into space. And it connects to an even more massive pyramid stationed between 2 stable asteroids in the asteroid field that circles at high speed in the orbit of a planet around the sun between Mars and Jupiter that was a planet. And then it's beamed from there to even larger pyramids that are now being stationed between individual stars in our galaxy. And it goes all the way to a planet called Zetranami 1, very large, 4 times bigger than Earth, with 3 moons the size of Earth circling it, near the galactic core. Not in it, near it. If you look at the galaxy now, you can see it from Earth, from you. You can see a toroidal field extending around. There's a shaft of white golden light coming up and down through it, which is a doorway. People call it a black hole, but it's a way. They're concentric generators that take energy from a higher reality, pass it down through that core, and then distribute it downward to other planes and out into the universe. These galaxies spin on an axis in a white golden field of light that is vast, vastly beyond the size of galaxies. And so you realize all this, and you intentionally allow this awareness of this journey to come down into the consciousness on Earth that you grew up with, learning none of this. This is your intent and endeavor. And then when you're respectful and kind to your own self, open your eyes.
Wow. Today we visit the real tree of life, no?
Well, we're taking people where we go on private journeys, but that's a little more intense. But this is very intense. This is for the public. I mean, this is going on your YouTube channel. We're not pulling any punches, holding anything back, and different people will relate to it differently. But what I would recommend is, because this will be on your YouTube channel, they should play this back at a time when they find out about it, where they can have a cup of tea, not be disturbed by phone calls or anything else, put aside 2 hours and get relaxed, and then play this back and go on the journey for their benefit.
And also, we are connected to our, like we say, higher self, Scott, or other planes.
I very briefly went through focusing on the forms people have in these other planes. They're running right now because they're running them. And the fact that they don't remember any of it and don't even know if it's real just means that some subconscious fear is in the way of recovering that awareness. And they need to be aware of this and work on this. Always focus the imagination of choice on uplifting, beneficial things. Don't split it into 2 currents like you've been doing, positive and negative, wonderful for your life and family now, but terrified of the future. The 2 are opposed, and they take a whole energy and ground it into the earth. That keeps people from remembering. So the imagination needs to be focused in one whole constructive way. That's what this is about. Okay?
Yeah, I have many journeys video with Scott on my channel, so you can always go back and watch and go on journeys many times. And also, Scott, have your website, right? People can go and check many interesting videos there too.
Yeah.
And
I would take people out to other planets, and I will, in the Milky Way, but that's not going to help them evolve very much or change much. They need to get above the void as often as they can. That means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planes above here, through a barrier which is all like a cobalt blue light, nothing in it, but there's living energy there, and there are beings there that most people never see. And then we go up into the 5th reality, which has a long white sandy beach, and it goes on forever. And there's a reality there. And then above it, between the 6th and 5th plane, an especially created parallel dimension beyond time and space, is the Hue Expansionary Academy we visited today. Okay.
And people can go visit your website too under this video. And there are videos in Finland, Scott, very interesting.
Presentations I did there for scientists and other people. Norway, yeah, there's no cost or charge for them. They can go to my YouTube channel and see over 60 promotional videos. They're only about 1 minute and 28 seconds long. I'll include that link as well.
And for those who have a lot of funds, a lot of money, and you don't know what to do with, can can help support us to change the planet Earth, to
Well,
lift the
simply,
energy.
money's energy.
Yeah.
And since I don't charge for this other than sell books, to the screenplays are already written for the whole 4 books I've published. And so they're headed for feature film development. It's going to require some serious, stable backing to get those things done beyond what I have. Because there are people that we're working with now when they're out of their bodies at night to get them free from the attachment to all their wealth, which is burdening them, and know how to use it properly to set themselves free while they're alive. And this is very important. So we're working with few individuals that way. They know who they are. And at the right time, they will contact me. I'm not concerned about that. It's part of their personal destiny to help save the planet instead of let it go up in smoke. People from other worlds aren't going to allow that anyway. So it's better they get productively involved for their own benefit and that of their families, really.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay,
Well, I
Scott,
wish you
thank you.
well. Thank you for having the courage to do this, Perry. As always, I may greatly appreciate your courage. And I
Thank you
will
to
say,
you. Yes.
see you all
And
later.
yeah, and thank you everyone for watching. Please thumb up and subscribe and share. Thank you.
See you later.